Okay. So good afternoon, friends. And before I start my talk, as a disclaimer, this presentation reflects my personal view, and it's not related to NIPER Ahmedabad or Department of Pharmaceuticals, Government of India, or Dr. Reddy's, or the Bristol Myers Squibb, where I previously worked. So let's start talking. We have already listened to the speakers in the first sessions that what is the Indian success story. So India is providing generic medicines for more than 120 countries. And we all know there are 195 countries, and India has reached to 120 countries, which is really great. Out of 20 global generic companies, eight are situated in India, or they are doing a business from India. Over 55% exports to a highly regulated market, which we are doing, and which is also good because the regulated market generates the higher revenue than the ROW market or African market or other market. 90% of our WHO pre-qualified APIs are sourced from India. That is a different story. We procure intermediates from China, but the final step is happening in India. 60 to 70% of our WHO's vaccine requirement are sourced from India, which is also a proud moment. Number of US FDA approved site is 741, means few of the sites are having certainly 483s and certain bans, but still there are 741 sites available. And number of ANDA market authorizations are 4,346, which is again a very good number. Now let's talk about the annual report, which was published by a government of India and Department of Pharmaceuticals, which says that if from 2015 to 2016, our growth rate was 16.5. There was a lull period of 2019 to 20 because of a COVID, and there were a lot of shutdowns, and there were a lot of medical need which got changed. And because of that, our growth was slightly dipped, but again, it got picked up. Now, the question is, was there any impact on COVID-19 on pharma sector growth? And maybe for a few years, yes, but overall, it may be a positive, we do not know yet. Because in a COVID situations, there was a scarcity across the globe for the medicines. And in generally, India was considered as a kitchen or a pharmacy of the world. And we were supporting maximum places. However, there may be a situations where the orders will come well in advance. There will be a lot of MOUs will generated, and which says that, okay, this much amount of a medicines to be exported every year and so on. So it may be a positive. And in the negative sides, we do not know how the different countries, they also will start thinking on sustainability and other things. So there may be a possibility that the units were made in other countries. So let's talk about certain reality. Means that is really good that we are growing maybe a 11% or a 12% CGR rate. But please also understand that the inflation rate is also high. So whatever revenue we are getting generated, that is also similar to inflation rate, but higher than inflation rate. So this is like a PAW survey which was there in 2009, and 2009 the pharma was growing really, really well in India. At that time, the projections were made where if it is the base case where CGR will be around 14.5%, we could have crossed 55 billion USD. And if it will be aggressive case, we could have reached to a 70 billion USD. But unfortunately, in 2020, we were in between of the pessimistic case and a basic case. So we haven't grown too high. The other graph which says that still only 3.3% of innovative products are used by Indian population. And if we compare with other countries, including China, they are using around 30% of innovative medicines. Say for an example, certain diseases are there, say rheumatoid arthritis. There are innovative medicines available in the Western countries, maybe of a MAB or a biologics, which is sufficient one time a dose in a 6 month, and rheumatoid arthritis is gone. There are certain medicines. Recently, last month, Novartis has launched oligonucleotide, which is a RNA-based therapy for cholesterol-related diseases. In 6 months, you give one dose and done. So there are a lot of innovative medicines are coming into the market, which are going to change the life significantly. Let's see where we stand. In an India-China trade, we are heavily importing the things from China, whereas our exports are still limited. If we see the outsourcing index, in outsourcing index with the Asian territories, India is on a second number. China, Korea, Taiwan are competitor to us. So the CRO business also is dynamic, and a lot of other players or other nations are coming into the competition. These are the list where the active pharmaceutical ingredients which we are importing from China or the intermediates we are importing for the China. So few years back, we always used to say that the India is a pharmacy of the world, but now it may be a fairly weak foundation for us, because other countries are growing much faster CAGR rate than the India. And we also need to work harder to maintain the growth sustainability. Let's talk what are the way forwards for sustainable growth. And that is also the topic. It means I am basically a scientific background, but worked in administrations in a different company. So I will try to tell what are my personal views or how it can help. So the first is a strong collective efforts by industry and government. There are PLI schemes, yes. Government has announced a bulk drug park, so we are waiting when the bulk drug parks will be announced. And hopefully Gujarat also can get one of the bulk drug park. There will be a requirement of a collaborative development framework from a CDSO side where the registration agency is giving a guidance. So if you see the US or Europe, they have a product specific guidance. You type maybe the aspirin, a draft guidance from US FDA, there will be available. Even you can see the dissolution, where or which media dissolution has to be done. What should be their quality parameters. And those things are available. Unfortunately, in India, that culture has not yet came. But there is a requirement to have a product-specific guidance, which will be really, really helpful. Because we are discussing what we can do and what are the opportunity for us for seeing a sustainable growth. So it is important to discuss these things in this forum. Then there is a requirement of a continuous improvement in a registration, review, and approval process. So if somebody has worked with the Russian market, in the Russia, the very systemic review and approval process is there. It takes certain time, but there are the dates. You file within this period of time, you will get approval. In a US FDA also, there is a gold date or gold standard date. Some of you have worked, then you may be aware of that. You file and you will have a gold date. If the US FDA is not responding to the gold date, then you can sue the US FDA. You can get whatever you have paid for a registrations back and maybe a penalty. So US FDA has to support. Similar thing, it has to happen in India, where there are a lot of transformation is coming through IT solutions and others. So that things will come. So I can tell, means in my previous organizations, I visited a US FDA and there was one meeting and we were working on some of the complex product. And in that discussions, US FDA is using a AI or they have a plan to use a AI. What it means is they are, say, 5 players are submitting to the US FDA their registration or ANDA. The AI will pick up what are the critical process parameters, what are the critical quality attributes from each of them. So say for an example, company X, I don't want to tell the name, but maybe a company X from India has filed the ANDA and they have put a process parameter, maybe say drying time of a granules. And the situations will happen that maybe a company Y, maybe from India or from somewhere else, he has not put as a critical process parameter as a drying temperature of the granules. This AI will pop up and says, hey, in this ANDA, this CPP has not been mentioned, so the company might have not monitored that. So they are going in a so high level currently, and that is happening. The other thing is required is a dynamism and selection of a new products, specifically for a small scale industries, because the dynamic of a market get changed. And as the dynamic of a market get changed, if the new products were not picked up properly, there is a probability that the market shares will get decreased. And most of you are aware of a NPPA and a lot of other policies of a government for a price control. It will be difficult for sustainability. The other thing is adoption of a newer technology. AI and ML we have already discussed. The another is a continuous manufacturing. For a China, they produce the things in the bulk. So the processing costs are lesser. There are technology available where a continuous manufacturing with the PAT technologies and others, it is very much feasible. And this is the time where we need to do a right investment and right efforts. If that is not there, we may not be making the bulk of the material at a low cost. And that also will create a situations where the sustainability for the growth get impacted. Now I will talk about, there are certain rules which has happened. One is a bioequivalence rule. So some of you might be aware that from the CDSO, nowadays, if the BCS class 2 and 4 drugs are there, you need to do a bioequivalence studies. So you need to generate the bioequivalence studies with the reference drug which DCGI or a CDSO has finalized. Now, let's understand what is the bioequivalence studies. And that is required only for an oral formulation, because on the oral formulations, when you ingest, you take into the stomach, the formulation is going to release the drug. And when it's released the drug, it reaches to a systemic circulations, which is the blood, and then the site of action. And that should be similar as that of a reference product or an innovator product or a reference, in-house reference product. But if these studies has been done and there is a requirement of, say, two-way crossover with the fade and fast both, it will cost around 25 lakhs. And a small scale industry, if they are developing a new products, it will be difficult for them. So the products or a newer product, say for an example, say anti-cancer drug, say for an example, palbociclib is anti-cancer drug. It's a costly drug, but the small scale industry may not afford to do a BAB studies, and as a result, only big pharma will be manufacturing a palbo, and ultimately the drug price control cannot be made appropriately. So the small scale industry, unless and until they are not entering into the market, a price for an Indian pharma will be tough or will be difficult to maintain. So as R&D guy, what we can do, okay? So if I will be on a small scale industry, let me think what I can do. What I will do is, I will take the formulations, do a dissolution studies, and which will be a mimicking the GI track. Try to understand what are the dissolutions rate. Try to understand the pharmacokinetic parameters, because it is available by the US FDA or EMA. in the open access data for any of the filing. I will use in vitro in vivo correlations and tell CBOS, in vitro in vivo correlation is matching, please give me a biowaiver, rather than telling that, okay, this compound is not of BCS class 2 and 4, and that is difficult to justify. Let's talk on the CRO business. In the CRO business, Europe and US is taking 30% of the total CRO business, and and 14% again. So total around 44%. India is taking 12%. China is taking 9%. And the CRO business are growing well because the discovery phase, the lot of dynamic is getting changing day by day. And generally, they are thinking of having a centralized facility, and those centralized facility is nothing but a CRO. So they outsource the activity to CRO, and which will be much cheaper rate. So the prediction says that currently $68.3 billion market is there for CRO, and which can grow to $100+ billion in 27. So let's see what global CRO market shares are there, and in the global market shares of a CRO services are shown in this circle, where you can see the maximum CROs are on a clinical trials. So our clinical trial regulation has to be such friendly that a clinical trial CRO can really survive and can grow very fast, because in India our population is really high, and with that populations we can get definitely a healthy volunteer as well as the patients also for some of the clinical trials, which will be helpful, because some of the clinical trials, the drugs were invented to say phase 2A or phase 2B, and for a phase 3, if the company is coming to India, and these are the newer drug, they may cure the disease of the patient, so which will be like a win-win situations. But the regulation has to be optimized or framed in such a way with the help of the experts that it can go. Say the Australia, if you see Australia, the clinical trials are so well designed, and you go to Australia within a 1 month, you can do a clinical trial. And their registration process, application process, approval process are so streamlined. Similar things may require to come in India for catching up this market. Let's say the India's current status, as we were discussing, in a CRO business, certainly the quality of the data and the integrity will be very important. And the number of 483s received from foreign regulatory agencies were increasing, and it clearly says we need to work on 483s. If you see the Indian current status, China is like outsourcing index-wise, they are in top. So people are preferring, or people can prefer to go to China. Now, what the way forward, what we can do? So to improve a data integrity and a requirement, there are a lot of guidance document which is available, like a 21 CFR Part 11 or electronic data management. So in a Western sites, what they believe is manual things can be changed, but if it is electronically with the audit trail, it is difficult to get changed. So they are more in a belief that they are thinking that all the data has to be recorded electronically. And if there is an electronically data record, the questions will be less, and the doubt on integrity will be less. And what always they say is, do what you say and say what you do, as simple as that, and needs to be followed. In terms of a mindset, so there was one survey which says that US and EU mindset says acceptability 46%. Affordability is only 20%. So if they are buying something, if the affordability they want to consider, so there are two products. One is acceptability, which is more safe and other things. 46% people will buy that. And if it is a cheaper, only 20% will buy where the safety profile or other things are not known. So still, in Europe and the US, they always believe on trust base. And gaining the trust, easiest way is to get a data integrity requirement fulfilled with maximum electronically. Coming to the medical device sector, again this data was published, and in medical device sector, we are importing 6,000 plus US $1 million worth rupees, and we are exporting only 2,500 US dollar respective. So if you see the electronic equipment, surgical equipment, consumables and disposables, IVD reagent and implants, in all the sector, if you see the number of shares of the total consumptions, in certain cases is 1.66%. Surgical instruments, we are relying on Europe or a US. We do not have an in-house surgical equipment manufacturers. And actually we are good, means our IITs are known. Yesterday there was a news where means the government is thinking to open the IITs in UK and UAE and others because our engineering is very good. This is the time when the pharma and engineers should meet together and start thinking about making the surgical instruments and decrease the data dependability. If you see in terms of which countries or major countries we are importing, in China, we are importing more than $1,000 million, which is significantly high. And there is a lot of scope for us to do an in-house manufacturing of a medical device. But for making an in-house manufacturing of a medical device, certainly R&D is required. In India, we have done a fantastic things or a fantastic job on making a generic ANDA submissions or a generic drug molecules. Time has came where we should be making a generic medical devices, and that is possible. I can tell what can be a simplified workflow. If the medical device is entering into the body, it's required that the innovator medical device should have the same compositions of the material. You can have a material equivalency. Then quantitative information perspective, if it is a different polymer and different thing, you make a same quantitative ratios and do a risk assessment and submit. Our current medical device regulation is not that stringent as that of drug, and there is a high possibility to get approval. And that all can depend on a PDR, it's called a product development report, and that is feasible. Let's talk about the complex generics and 505(b)(2). So the complex generics, some of you have heard the complex generics word. It can be a complex mixture of APIs or a polymeric compound of a peptides. Or it can be a liposome suspension emulsions gel or a locally acting dermatological or inhalation drugs, long-acting injectable and implants and MDIs or drug device combinations. So they all come under a complex generics. If you see the US FDA or Europe, they have a specific guideline under a GDUFA 2 also for a complex generics. They treat a complex generics very, very separately, and they are difficult to crack. Say for an example, a drug called pentosan polysulfate, PPS. There is a company which is a Bain Pharmaceuticals in Germany, a specific place or a specific, I will say, jungle. There is a beech wood. From that beech wood, the xylene is getting extracted, sulfated, truncated, and that is the PPS. So Bain Pharmaceutical, whatever API they produce, Johnson & Johnson purchase everything. So they have like a contract agreement. There is no generic player in the market. When I say generic player in the market, definitely is not in a US and Europe. In India, you can get a PPS. That's a different story. And that is completely different. But there are certain complex generic molecules which are difficult. Why I'm telling this? Because the generic companies are coming from other countries also, but they are still one step behind. India is one or two steps ahead in terms of a technology, in terms of a brain power, in terms of manpower skills and other things. We can grasp those challenging but having a significant impact on the market. So this is the case where we should be working on. But we also need to be mindful that any general timeline for a development, so I'm showing Indian case where doxorubicin, Sun Pharma and Zydus got the approval. Similar is for paclitaxel, the Apotex and Teva got, still India has not got for paclitaxel Abraxane, which is protein and paclitaxel combinations. But it may take 15 to 20 years. So if you have, or some of the owners of the companies are available, if you have a deep pocket and you are not going to see a return on investment ROI within few years, complex generic is a good way to go because the competitions will be much lesser. Now let's talk about herbal products. If we talk on herbal products, this is of 2021 and 2022 what export we have done. And herbal product or Ayush and herbal product, which we have exported only 2%, that has been increased to 4%. So I will say 100% export has been increased in a year, which is awesome, right? Means 100% growth in export, which is really good. To make that sustainable in such a way that the export should increase, because Chinese herbal medicines are capturing the entire globe market and a huge business which is already available. So what require is we need to do a herbal standardizations, connecting pharma knowledge to Ayurveda. That should be a requirement of a GMP facility where you do a herbal product in a more regulated way. Their bioburden, aflatoxins, those needs to be monitored properly, and it will be export quality. You can do that. There is a general chapter in United States Pharmacopoeia, USP, for a herbal extract. If you are meeting that, the doors are open for many of the countries, and that should start working. So in now coming few slides, where the globe is moving, and that also we should be keeping in mind, maybe not now, but after 20 years, we need to work on those lines. So where the globes are moving, the drug discovery, they have shifted from small molecule to large molecule. We have a very good biotech industries, but most of them are working on biosimilars, and some of them are working on biobetters. But still, we are not inventing the new MABs or a new oligonucleotides and others. So the drug discovery is happening very rapidly. The vaccine development, so now the vaccines are coming for a chronic disease, and you may get surprised that maybe hypercholesteremia, there may be a vaccine comes, and which covers everything. Means once you have taken the vaccines, you need not to take atorvastatin or any of the things, and that may come. Research are already ongoing. The human component interface, so a lot of people are working with the AI, and the AI and machine learnings are picking up very rapidly. And the drug discovery and the developments are happening with that. The regenerative medicines are also picking up. There are a lot of clinical trials are happening with the stem cell therapy and others. You just inject the stem cells and it will work for you. CAR T, let me talk on that. So the artificial intelligence, in the Nature in 2019, a paper got published which says that AI will determine the protein folding. So in a drug discovery phase, what happens? You take, say for an example, aspirin. Aspirin go and react with certain receptor, and those receptors are nothing but a protein. If it interacts, the protein gets folded, and based on the folding, it gives the activity. Now, for checking that, conventionally what used to happen, you isolate a specific receptor, you put a drug, make a complex, and do a very hi-fi single crystal XRD, and takes months for validating the target. Nowadays, the AI and machine learning, they do your work in maybe 2-3 days. And that's why the drug discovery has gone up. You might have seen a lot of molecules are coming in clinical trials very, very rapidly. And this is one of the major reasons. Now, nanotech tools and personalized medicines. We might be hearing a personalized medicine from last 5-6 years, but now it is picking up. Many places in Europe and the US, there are the approvals for personalized medicines. You can, based on the person's need, you can give the nanomedicines, point of care medicines. There are trials going on where implantable chips, where whenever your blood sugar will go high, automatically insulin will release. Till that time, it will be inactive. So there are a lot of such things are coming in a schizophrenia and other type of diseases also. A similar thing is coming. Let's see what is the regenerative medicines. This is also picking up very, very rapidly, because we all talk about a drug side effect and other. So what the scientists are doing is they are taking our own blood or our own cell, modified or bioengineered, and give it back. And the classical example is CAR T cell therapy. What CAR T cell therapy is, they take a blood, isolate the T cells, modify the T cells, and this is our own cells, and modified in such a way that you have a specific cancer will have a specific antigen, and that antigen will be modified, this antigen will be assessed or checked, a specific antibody can be generated, and those antibody can be generated with a minor modifications in a DNA or mRNA sequence. That sequence you implant in a T cells, and your own T cells give back. They identify each cells, whomever is having a cancer, and eat that cells, and you are cured. So the world is moving with a very, very rapid pace, extremely rapid pace, and thanks to our seniors and the previous generations, they have done a very bold state or the task for making a ANDA generic or making the pharma sector at this stage. And now it's our duty to make it to the next stage. So I will conclude my sessions. So for sustainability mantra for immediate actions, meeting the quality, meet a BAB requirement which is immediate for small scale industries. Otherwise, all new drugs or a newly approved drugs, SMEs will not come into the market, and only the big pharma will come, and ultimately the price will be high. Then clear 483s and improve our data integrity. So our reputations on our data integrity improves significantly. Start focusing on future products, and then bridging the academia, regulatory, and industry. Here I would like to tell that central government is funding really good, and there are a lot of places where the industry, academia partnership is possible. Please utilize it well. And if you do not have a man resource or the facility or advanced characterization facility, please reach out to academia. They will be willing to take up those projects in a much subsidized rate, or because these are non-profitable organizations, and it will help. With that, thank you.
No issue. Thank you, Dr. Ravi. And with the paucity of time, and as per the schedule, already we are going late. But thanks for your inputs on the global and domestic front. I request yourself to take your seat back. And please, this is my humble request to all the participants. What are any questions related to the topic which has been delivered by Dr. Ravi? Please, we will have an interaction session at the last with all this as per this schedule what has been given. So now I request Rashmi Pant, who is a pharma consultant, who will deliver her lecture or thoughts on the impact of withdrawal and downscaling of MNC pharma operations in India on Indian pharmaceutical companies. I once again welcome Rashmi Pant ma'am with a good thumping, warming clap. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Shri. Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you.
And one small request to keep timeline. Thank you.
A very good afternoon to all. First of all, I'd like to thank Saket Exports, all the members, the senior members of this fraternity, my fellow members on the dais, and all the team who made this possible. My 4th or 5th year consecutive in a row. For those who've been watching me since last probably 2017, I've been delivering a speech, but this time my topic is slightly different than what has been in the conventional era. How many of you out here are from MNC pharmaceutical companies? I do not want to anger them at all, because I believe this scenario is dominated by Indian pharmaceutical experts sitting out here in the audience. Anybody raise your hands from the MNCs? So yeah, the favoritism is in front of the Indian pharma. Yes, MNCs. So I'm myself a very MNC fan, but been associated with Indian pharma companies since quite some time, and Indian CROs. So being Indian at heart, yes. These are some of the statistics which Indian pharma has already, achieved and has got about 10 times 2 decades by its global generic presence. A lot of the data has already been highlighted by Dr. Ravi as well. But yes, just for the sustainability aspect as well as for the introductory aspect, yes, I'd like to bring to your notice that in 2020, we have had a size of 41 billion. And the ambition is to reach 130 billion in 2030 at a compounded annual growth rate of 12%. Now, how many of you would give a rough thought on how many Indian pharma companies are there in this market? Any rough number, anybody? Anybody? I mean, if we're going for lunch, I don't mind. If any questions I get, yes? Yes? Could be. Any, and how many MNC companies, please, in this country? I would appreciate if an answer is a given.
Around
Yeah?
3,000 companies are there,
Yes, sir.
consisting of MNCs and domestic, and about 10,000 units are there.
Correct, sir.
In SME and all this thing. That's
Thank-
what statistics
You are very
there.
well informed, and you are a very, please give Dr. Shinde a big hand, please.
Thank
you
you.
very much, sir. Thank you, because that's what that 41 billion is all about. And if you'll see this landscape, it's been topsy-turvy. It's not that the MNCs have not ruled this country. They have been in this country for some time. There have been FDI inflows, if you see. In the pharmaceutical industry in India has been predominated by crests and troughs. A lot of FDI has come in from the FNCs. They have tried to enhance their Indian operations, probably in the pre-COVID area. A lot of companies have enhanced their share market prices just by their FDI aspects. Particular names I'd like to bring to you is Abbott and Novartis, and not to some extent Eli Lilly, Pfizer, have tried to enhance their Indian operations, not that it was not done. And you will see the peaks where you will see where Indian operations have actually taken a sluggish role. And Indian pharmaceutical companies have generally maintained their profits. Please pardon me, everybody, that mostly their growth is driven by a lot of exports. On the dollar side, and you'll find that has actually been enhanced in the areas, if you'll see, particularly from the year 19 to 20 in the pre-COVID area, right? Coming down next to the Indian pharmaceutical industry spread, now you'll see what I just mentioned was 41.7 billion, is the export market accounts for it is in the 20.7 billion market. And we'll find that these are some of the key countries, yes, Russia. Dr. Reddy's being one of those predominant countries getting affected by the Russian war. So this is somewhere the export spread is around. Coming down to the domestic market, which is predominantly, again, as Sir rightly mentioned, by more than 10,000 units of companies in the range of 16.9 billion. yes, global pharmaceutical companies are nearly in the range of 4.1 billion size, so they're not small. We should not underestimate them because they have been in the survival in this part of the country, particularly as well as the rest of India for quite some time. Indian pharma as a global leader has been under pressure. Yes, it has always been under pressure. It has been catering to a lot of demands, not only on the global level, but also on the domestic level. My previous colleagues and previous senior members have pointed out that 50% of the global vaccine demand has been met by India, 40% of the generic demand in the US has been met by them. Yes, pharma sales domestically have been a little weak, been growing by 9%, thanks to pricing policies, thanks to, I should say, pharma PCDs, thanks to national pricing policy coming over and out. Government Atmanirbhar plan who wants to offer generic drugs at cheaper costs, no doubt. Bioequivalence study is getting cheaper. Margins coming down. Biowaivers requested, yes. So these are some of the factors which have made India big, but shrunk the Indian pharmaceutical industry to a smaller size in terms of growth. Yeah. Now, we do have world-class capabilities in terms of formulation needs, name it, and we've got the entrepreneurial ability and the vision and the footprint in the large international markets. Indian pharma has also contributed a lot to public health outcomes. India accounts for about 60% of WHO global vaccine production, and 70% of the WHO demand for diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis, Calmette Guerin BCG vaccines, and 90% of the WHO demand for the measles vaccine. Yes, domestically we have been catering to the affordability criteria of the Indian market, increased accessibility to affordable drugs. Now I put forward a very simple question to you. Now if I was to give you a simple choice of buying a nutritional product, say for example I want to enhance my immunity, or I just want to enhance my energy levels, which product of which company would you prefer? Now, say for example, I want to buy a multivitamin, for example. Which would be the first company that comes to your mind, recall? I want some universal answers, please. Yes, louder, please, sir. Anybody can take a mic there and, or, huh? That would be non-pharma. Never mind, answer appreciated. Yes, next.
Proteinix.
Proteinix, thank you, sir. Yeah. I guess our chairman has more answers. I would appreciate more interaction from the audience. Quickly, please, I am under shortage of time. I need to show you some cartoons on this. Elder Pharma. Very good, excellent. You buy calcium from them, right? But now they're bought over by someone. They're not singular now. Anyway, any other? Multivitamin. I asked multivitamin. Abbott, yes. The Indian pack comes in. Thank you, sir. Yes. Revital Ranbaxy, thank you, thank you. I have only one MNC versus 5 Indians. Nobody wants to talk of Beaker-Souls? Pfizer, now you say yes, yes, a universal product.
What about Zinkovit?
Zinc, would be lots.
No, I mean to say that is a domestic product
Domestic,
or?
yes,
Okay, Zinkovit. Just for
Definitely, absolutely right, sir. So what we're trying to say is that we are a mix of, mankind because of affordability, Elder because I know my mother used to consume some calcium, Abbott because mummy ne bataya tha ye company achhi hai, kha sakte ho, right? So, but affordability, you want to check the price, right? Every time you say, sasta wala doge kya? And here you have the pressure of the chemist substitution as well, who tries to push in those drugs, on the affordable platform of this country. So supply chain also plays a major role in this area. And therefore, the drug penetration in India has increased by nearly 50%. Everybody says, ye dawai chalo Google mein check karta hu, ye kiski hai? Multinational company ke to mehengi hogi, right? I think we have that myth which we carry quite a lot. Yes, India has now become, the affordable criteria. But yes, what our doctor writes, we will go and challenge the chemist and say we'll buy what the chemist gives us, right? We'll buy what the chemist gives us. And suddenly when we realize that the medicine's not working, we go back to the doctor that you're hopeless. You don't do anything, right? Pardon me all doctors, pardon me all regulators, pardon me all MNC and Indian pharma specialists. Yes, but the industry has definitely helped us in bringing down the treatment costs of life-threatening diseases like chronic myeloid leukemia, hepatitis C, by less than 5% of the original cost. Now an injectable vial of say imatinib or some tablet of say cyclovir products, it costs more than 10,000s. We would definitely prefer an Indian product which is having a lower price, particularly those people who are not insured. In this part of the country, particularly as well as in India, we all know our healthcare costs are borne by us. We have only private insurance to cater to our needs. Whereas in the global world, where MNCs predominate, which I'm sure you all agree, all the healthcare expenditures are borne by their respective governments. So whatever the multinational companies manufacture in their drug trials or in their companies are actually approved by the regulators for reimbursement to their patients. Which, of course, those companies are also under serious pressure to put in the costs of those drugs in such a manner such that those drugs get the easy approval of the regulators in terms of healthcare reimbursement. So affordability as a criteria in the Western world, I believe, is slightly still a question mark. Coming down to the next aspect now, coming back to Indian pharma industry, which caters to public health and economic outcomes, you will see that Indian pharma industry has helped us in lowering the disease burden, has helped us in eradication of polio. I think even TB should feature to some extent, but I still disagree. The lower treatment costs of life-threatening diseases. And in the economic outcomes, we have been responsible for a lot of job creation, definitely. Annual trade surplus, and FDI inflows not only from the foreign companies, but also from the Indian areas. This USD 2 billion I would attribute a bit to the startups, the newer startups which are coming up in terms in the pharma industry, which are offering services to the pharma industry. So what is the road ahead to 2030? We have got 130 billion to cater to. We have the current levels of foreign net exchange earnings at the rate of 11 billion, which we wish to push to nearly 40 billion. What is the Pharma MNC scenario here, which is the basic topic of discussion here? At the time when the local market is assuming a growth strategy for Indian pharma, you will find that multinational companies are restructuring their brands by selling their brands, closing non-core units, or laying off employees. The stocks of listed MNC companies have hardly been attractive for their investors compared those to the Indian counterparts. Pharma MNCs now in the post-COVID era do not consider India a favorable market. Their portfolios are inadequate, their penetration is limited to metros, tier 1 cities, and they're getting beaten by their Indian players, which we just proved in a small theorem just a few minutes ago. Now, there's a lot of work done which is to be done on the policy of marketing and distribution of drugs in India. Consequently, the MNCs are exploring newer models of doing business in India, right from outsourcing, contracting, marketing collaboration, and out-licensing of molecules. Basically, it's the 80-20 breakup in the past many years in this country. So what has been in the MNC pharma scenario in the pandemic? You will find that a lot of collaborations and a lot of vaccines from MNC companies have been consumed by this country. So that is a bit of a contradictory scenario, whether they are having withdrawal symptoms or whether they are trying to liaison with the Indian companies or trying to find a bargain, which is a win-win situation for them to survive in this country. Now that question will be thrown open to you on the floor whenever you would like to address it. For example, if you will see, Gilead licensed its remdesivir molecule to 7 pharma companies. Now I think we have more than seven brands of remdesivir available. And we have transfer of COVID vaccine technology by AstraZeneca, which is known to all, Serum Institute, and a lot of various types of vaccines which are still under development, Johnson & Johnson to biological evils, and Merck's voluntary license to 5 Indian companies for COVID antiviral pill, Molnupiravir for global supply in cases are point. And a lot of these places are being approached from the academic perspective as well. MNCs are known to focus on limited therapy areas and build legacy brands. Brand building is not an Indian phenomenon, as you all might be aware. Now, these are some of the withdrawal happenings that have happened, the not so nice news which has happened particularly in the year of 2022. You will find Novartis has withdrawn some sales and distribution activities. October 21, Eli Lilly has withdrawn some of its marketing rights of its anti-diabetic activities. October 2021, Danish farm company Lundbeck has decided to exit, which has been there in the market for quite some time. And in 2019, US Pfizer has tried to close its facilities. And last but not the least, there has been, Dr. Reddy has also brought in some pioneer brands from a major multinational to sell in the Indian market from Novartis and try to sell them at the Indian prices. However, if you will see the stock performance, a subject of interest to a lot of people are out here, you will find that the multinational performance in terms of stocks has been, in 5-year returns, you will find only AstraZeneca and Abbott India who have got great 5-year returns in terms of percentage. These are the ones which have been reported from their annual reports in Economic Times. So how is the outlook? As in the case of Novartis India, the listed entity often houses a small proportion of the business compared to the unlisted arms in India. Now, where would you attribute this? How would you rate this cartoon? Would you rate to an Indian company or would you rate it to an MNC company? This is a doctor prescribing a medicine for a patient out here and he's listed all over with Merck. There is some list of brands on his shirt with MNCs, yes? Now, this is a guy who's boasting that he's got vaccines, and he's got one from Pfizer, he's got from Moderna, he's got one from AstraZeneca. Which one of you have taken from an Indian company, please? Yeah, me too. How many of you have taken the Moderna booster, please? No, we are all Atmanirbhar, right, sir? Now, tell your proctors, tell your parents to ask if Ambulex is right for them. What is Ambulex, please? Anybody? It's from Unimark Remedies out here in Ahmedabad. Alprazolam and propranolol? Yeah? Anyone from Unimark here this year? No. I put it because I thought people from Unimark would be coming. I did not put JB Chem, sir. I thought you would not be around this year. Okay. See the adverse events in clinical trials, please. I believe people who are in the CRO business would understand this. This is an adverse event, yes? Your head gets shrunken up by a drug trial, yeah? Now, this is the condition of the sales representative nowadays. The doctor comes out of an emergency and they grab him to sell the product. Who's doing that, MNC or India? Where would you rate this, please? India or MNC? Thank you, sir. Okay. We are figuring out how to bottle yoga and overcharge for it. Which Indian company is trying to do it, or which MNC for yoga, please? Yeah, oh, I thought so. Give yourselves a big hand. Anybody? I thought somebody would get excited to see this one. This is particularly my favorite. My blood pressure is boiling. Blood pressure guideline is getting eased, so somebody's blood pressure gets difficult because bioequivalence studies need not be done, so my blood pressure goes up, so I can't make any profits. Okay, that's my interpretation. All those in favor of adding another 5 billion organisms to your probiotic like Baba Ramdev? I've got cow ghee, which is US FDA approved. Yes, my due respect to everybody who's from Patanjali. Very great regard for the brand. Okay. We come up here to find a new drug to combat greed, but it costs $90 a pill, please. Who's got the greed, please? Which is this disease? Anybody heard of? Yeah? You seem to be enjoying the cartoons, I guess. No response. Next. Hey, we go. We invented the disease. You invent the cure. Who's got the R&D here in India? The best research and development institute? I think we've got here, right here in Zydus here. We got some in Mumbai with Glenmark, and we got some with Dr. Reddy's. I keep saying that because this is one of those pioneer companies with research and development, because they are the people who started the research and development push. To some extent, a little bit of Lupin. Yes? Yes, anybody who has any difference of opinion, please speak up. I'm here to tackle that. Yes, thank you. And who's got the real sales part here, sir? Mankind? Yeah, okay. Okay, this is our newest drug. It's undergoing rigorous testing to see how much we can charge. This attributes to US FDA or Indian FDA? Our regulator friends, senior persons are not here, so they would tell us the best. Yeah? Yes? Anybody? Where would you put this? India or MNC? Need not be shy, it could go either way. MNC? You sure about that? We Indians don't do that, sir? Yeah, I agree with you. Biosimilars. Shouldn't you be prescribing something more bioexact? Now, supposing if I had, God forbid, if I had developed a very deadly disease and I had to buy a very expensive medicine, would you prefer a biosimilar from an Indian company like Reliance Life Sciences? Or any other, for that matter, equivalent company? What would you do? Any answers, please? Absolutely. So I'm on the affordability criteria. I'm Indian. Anybody, please? Some answers? It seems you don't like the presentation. No, I had to say that. Yes? If you raise the price of your drug so much, people will die. They say, I don't think we have a pill for that. Okay. Now, fortunately, your treatment is highly inexpensive or relatively inexpensive since you have the generic form of the disease. So we are very pleased that we have a generic disease and we need to pay less, right? Okay. I hope I have not got a brand name. My insurance covers only the generic part. Okay? In India, our insurance doesn't cover the pills. It only covers the hospital expenses. This is only for the multinationals and the global world. Okay? And weight loss drug comes in 5 different flavors. How many of you would like to consume weight loss drugs, please? Or Seltamavir? Yeah, so did I. It's not a very great drug, sir. It didn't work on me. It again. So, I don't know. It comes in flavors, and I had a similar one saying that it's got a mocha flavor as well. So people consume it because of the mocha and not because of the drug per se. So Amway would hold good in that case here in some type of research and development. Yeah, here, try this. I bought 100 shares. Now coming to our investment aspects, which company would you buy today in pharma? किसी का नहीं लेंगे सर? ले सकते, किसका लेंगे? हाँ? हाँ, ले सकते, अच्छा है. अच्छा है. और कुछ? ग्लैक्सो एमएबट का नहीं अच्छा है? 5 year stock returns कितने बढ़िया थे? I just showed you. No? Sir will say, मैं किसी का शेयर में believe ही नहीं करता हूँ. If this medication has side effects, then you may have pills that will help, and some other pills for the side effects of the pills that you took on the first time, right? Mega drug. Something on nanotechnology, something which will boost, you take that chip and it keeps on excess insulin निकालता रहेगा, side effect कैसे रोकेंगे? Okay, agreed. Till we get an approval, we can market this as an organic pesticide. Which company would you relate to this? The only company I could drink in organic pesticides was Baxter. Anybody from Baxter, don't kill me. Okay, yeah? Actually, I've always been a copycat, so I'm Indian. Next. This stuff, we can cure all kinds of diseases, the cheapest to produce, and we can give it to everybody for about 2 cents. Do you want to ruin me? Take it away. Where would you put this? Research and development people? I find the audience is pretty shy out here. Okay? And of course, you have a balanced portfolio, Mr. Osroyd. Your big pharma stocks are 50% downers and 50% uppers. So we'll strike a balance and say, दोनों खरीद लो, दोनों अच्छे हैं. जिधर मुनाफा उधर खरीदारी. Okay? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your patience. Any questions?
Thank you, Rashmi Pam, to really give the insights about the comparison between MNC and domestic pharma industry with the practical things which are going on in the and war with the human beings are facing with this basically. And as ma'am has requested that she want to go for some other assignment, I request the audience to talk in any language, vernacular as well, not only English, because I find these participants are in a very बोरियत पोजीशन में हो रही, जबकि इतना अच्छा कार्टून के द्वारा it is really that's what we require. Of course, with due respect to your session, your lecture also, but this gives the practical. I was remembering the same R.K. Lakshman and the things which has been closely attached with these cartoons, which give the basic problems what we are facing. But please be open and don't get so much shy. We are all matured professionals and come to some, at least before ma'am, she wants to take permission, and with your permission I will permit, if any questions are there, please come forward. And even after she left, I will request my other panel members to give insights about the questions related to the ma'am's topic. Thank you. Please, if anything is there. Mic, or you can pass on the slip as well, what the arrangement is there. You can hand, if anybody wants, raise the hand and we will provide the mic for this particular session only. And of course, So with your consent and permission, should we go for a next lecture, or should we wait for some time to get some ideas or questions?
In academics, it's usually said that either you understood everything or
Yeah, same thing. Because I am not from pharma, I don't have any questions. My concepts are clear. Had I am from the pharma, technically, I can talk on number of drugs. But because only my wife, she is a medico, she always gives some ginkgo, this one, that one. That's why I am related to the pharma. Some vitamin D deficiency, ye kha lo. Then this one. So, I mean, but
pharma at home, so it's great.
so anyway, thanks for your patience listening, and really thanks, ma'am, for a innovative type of your presentation. I like, and some, at least, yeah, I do agree that it's not like that we are here to only criticize MNC or criticize domestic, but we have to see the balancing one. We are not in favor of MNC as well, and we are also not in favor of domestic, but these are the factual things, what insights Dr. Ravi has given. So, ma'am, already the audience has given the permission to carry on your activities. And once again, thanks. And I think organizer, I will also take your consent so that tomorrow, as a chairman, you should not blame me. Okay.
Right.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And of course, we are within the session limit only. And today is the last topic of this first session, which we are talking. And I have a very I myself having a lot of, I am anxious to listen the long experience of Mr. Gaurang Oza sir, and who is the chief mentor. Mentor itself shows, it's not a mentor doesn't require chief or deputy chief. Mentor, role model, that's the words itself, it doesn't require the chief also. So for me, mentor means mentor. So that's, I am looking forward for this session, where on really one of the best topic, what I feel today is a quality standards. This is what it will value added to the existing product and existing industry. Please, sir. Please welcome Oza sir.